All right, I know it's been a while since I posted a video. In fact, it's been since spring, and I usually don't get a lot of time to sit in front of the computer during the summer. Summers in Minnesota are not that long, and I'm pretty busy, so thanks for being patient and waiting till the fall. And I know it's a little later than fall, but I started to take a look at what I wanted to cover for my next series of videos. And in order to do that, I needed to make a low poly large rock formation. And I looked around and couldn't really find a lot of good videos on it. There's videos on how to make just individual rocks, small rocks and piles of rocks, but I didn't want just an individual rock. I wanted a large rock formation, maybe even a mountain or really tall formation. And I played around with several different ways of doing that and finally came upon one that seemed to work pretty well to get me what I was after. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through that today on how to make a low poly rock formation. And to start with, I'm going to show two different commands in Blender that maybe you haven't used a lot, and it's important as we're making a rock formation. So I'm going to show those just on a cube here in a simple state. So the first thing I'm going to do is show how you can change the coordinate system that you're working with. So normally by default we have our X and Y here on our base plane. The green line is the Y, the red is the X, and of course the Z is up. So if I do a grab G, Z, of course we see our blue line, and I'm gonna grab that and we'll go straight up and down. And that works if everything is aligned to our XY coordinates, but if it's not aligned to one of these coordinates, I can still move it straight away or parallel to the plane that I'm grabbing. And how I do this is by pressing the comma key, and then I get this menu and it's showing me my coordinate systems. And normally global is what is set, but I can also set normal. And what is a normal? A normal is a line or a vector that is perpendicular to the selected plane. So if I select normal here, and now I select this plane and say grab Z, what we see now, the Z is perpendicular to that plane, and so now the Z is pointing in the other direction. If I grab this guy and say grab Z, now it's going in this direction along the global's Y direction, but it's along the normal of the face. So that's going to be handy when we're working with our low poly rocks. The second thing I'm going to go over is if I select everything here and I subdivide, and I'm going to just grab this vector, grab in the Z direction. And now what I'm going to do is I want to reflatten. I want all these faces here to be on the same plane. Right now they're on different planes. These two are on the same plane, these two are on the same plane, but they're on different planes. I mean, they're all not on the same plane. And when we're making our mountain and we want to flatten things, this is another important thing to know how to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say scale in the Z direction, and I'm going to type the letter 0. So basically what I'm doing is scaling all those points by 0, which means it's going to multiply all those points and essentially make them all the same. And in this way, what we can do is we can flatten out a bunch of different faces that are all possibly close to flat, but we want them perfectly flat because it's very important when we're making our low poly rocks that we have the faces that we want. So now that we know some of those basic commands, let's get to our low poly rock. So I put our cube back just the way it was when we started in. So I'm going to do is I'm going to select all here, and I am going to scale it. And if I hold Shift Z, what it's going to do is it's only going to scale it in the XY direction, like that. Then I'm going to grab this in the Z direction, up like that. What we're going to do is I'm going to set this back to global coordinate system. Grab this guy along the Y-axis. Whoops. I think I accidentally separated him. So this is about the shape of our rock that we want. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all again. I'm going to subdivide this, come down here, give it quite a number of faces. Whoops. Lost my, there we go. Maybe a few more. All right, that looks good. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to shape this about with the different shape that we want it roughly. So how I'm going to do that is, first of all, I'm going to go up here, and I want to, as I'm going to be pulling parts of this out to shape it. So I want to take all the items around it and pull them out on this smooth curve. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to C for circle, grab a set, hit escape, grab it along the Y. First thing I'm going to do is actually we don't want the bottom to be square here. And so I'm just going to undo that. I'm going to do Alt, hit 2 for, it's not going to want to do all those. All right. Alt, hold the Shift down, Alt Shift, Alt Shift. Oops. All right, and then we're going to want to do a scale, Shift Z to kind of bring it out a bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some of these, grab X. This is where, you know, some little artistic is important. Grab Shift Z. You don't want that sharp square corner. Grab Shift Z. So what we really want is just to start shaping our rock however we want it. Just give it a bit more variance. All right. Do the same thing to the top. But on the top, what we're going to do, undo that guy. We're going to scale Shift Z. Oops. It's not going to do what I want it to do. There we go. All right. now I can come in here and I can start. Oops, got to unselect that guy. It's okay. All right, so I did a bunch of moving around, really just repeating that same operation of grabbing groups of faces, dragging them along the X, Y, or Z coordinate system to get basically what I'm looking at right here. So I got some bumps and hills and bulges where I kind of want them. Again, it's up to you of how it looks. But basically what it is it's broken down into a bunch of squares. So if I look at it, I get all these square faces. And this really doesn't look good. Like the rock I want groups of flat faces that are irregular, but not broken up into a series of squares. This just doesn't look natural as a rock that way. So how do I get rid of all those little squares and put into faces? So this is something that is used a lot, that I can use this, Decimate. So what this will do is this will remove and create new faces, and in groups. It'll basically group the faces together and create a lot less faces. And if I go to planar and I increase the angle limit, as I increase the angle limit, you can kind of see it start to reduce the number of faces. So again, I can do this however much as I want to get kind of the rid of the faces I want. So I think that kind of looks pretty good. Again, it's up to you of how you do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this. And again, you have to be in object mode in order to do this, in order to apply it, not to run the modifier, but to apply it, you need to be in object mode. So I'm going to apply it. I'm going to go back into here. And so now I have my faces. Now the issue is that these faces, like this complex face here, is not all on the same plane. So when you bring that in to Unity, you're going to get some odd shading and lighting effects on it. So I don't want that situation. And what's this? I mean, it creates these weird combinations of faces, and I'm not sure why it does it, but that's how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into object mode. I'm going to add another modifier, triangulate. And what that's going to do is triangles always have to be in the same plane. 3 points can't be in 2 different planes. Any number of points more than 3 can be not in the same plane. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this. So now what I have is I have all flat faces, but now what I have is a bunch of triangles, which also doesn't look really natural. Rocks don't have all these triangular faces. It looks kind of weird. Some look okay, like this. Square faces tend to look better than triangular faces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into this mode, and now I'm going to use those same techniques I showed at the beginning. And I'm going to select these 3 faces that are triangles. They're all in a different plane. I'm going to hit my semicolon. I'm going to go into normal mode here. And I'm going to scale Z 0. And now what it did is it flattened those 3, just like we showed at the beginning with that cube. It flattened those 3 faces. Now I can hit 2 and I can go in and select these 2 edges. I'm going to hit X and I'm going to dissolve edges. So now what you see is I have a square where 3 triangles appeared, and they're all in the same plane. So what I can do is I can go in and I can continue doing that. Say do this, scale Z0, return to, select, X, dissolve edges. So you can keep doing that over and over and over again as in order to get, and again, what you have to use is some basic artistic license in order to decide what planes you actually want to form a face and how many faces you want. But you can go basically and just keep doing this. So I'm going to keep doing this throughout the whole thing here. All right, so I've gone through and you can see that I've flattened a bunch of these items and all those triangles in order to get what I think looks like a better shaded low poly. You'll see that, you know, random shapes, but flat faces, no triangles. There's some odd things here, like this guy here, and I'll kind of show you. This is not uncommon when it triangulates and you decimate and then triangulate, is that you have all these items come together at this point. And that looks weird. I think it looks weird. And there's no real way, yeah, I can flatten these and I can flatten these, but they're still all going to join at this one point. And so one thing you can do is come in to your knife tool. And I'm going to basically make a new face here, kind of crossing all these planes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these new faces. So of course what the knife did is it created new faces using the vectors like a cut like a knife. And then I'll do scale Z0 on this guy and then eliminate those vectors. So now what we have is we have a flat plane instead of everything coming to the points and these guys kind of joining that. And again, you could make it as big as you want or as small as you want, and maybe you don't think that looks natural enough and you might want to change the shape to more square. Again, it's up to you, but using that knife tool, don't be afraid to use the knife tool in order to form other items. The other thing you can do with the knife tool is make a crack in your face. So if I come in here, I grab the knife, say I have a crack that's going to start here. So I'll come in here, kind of make a rough crack that goes to here, press return, come in here. I'm going to make it pretty narrow, kind of parallel. You don't want it to be exactly. And now what we have is we have a new face. Hit 3, select that face. That's going to form our crack. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that in the Z direction. Oops, oh, that's not selected. No, I can't grab it. What I need to do is I need to inset it in order to make a new face. Now I can grab it in the Z direction. Now I can sync it. And now I can scale Shift Z. So now basically what I have is when I go in, see, it's going to look like there's a crack there in the rock face. So using that knife tool, you can add whatever extra features you want once you do your decimate and you get all the planes you want. You can add some extra features like cracks or fissures or things like that. So like I said, I'd have to go around to my whole object. I have some objects over here that I've done. So here you can see I made a crack into there. This is what it started out with all the individual faces. Again, you can do them, tall and skinny. You can do individual small pieces. What you can do is if you search online for the images, especially things like Arches National Park here in the States in Utah, to get some ideas of what different rock formations look like for inspiration. Yeah, and what we're going to do next is take some of these rock formations, pull them into Unity, and show how we can do some of the lighting effects in Unity in order to make some cool scenes. So stay tuned for that next video.